Andor Season 2 is done. Finished. And if you've been following my videos, you know how much I've loved this series. But as the credits rolled on episode 12, I sat back and I thought, that was great. But was that it? Today I'm diving into the final 3 episodes of Andor. Make It Stop, Who Else Knows, and Dedra, Kyber, Urso. I'll break down the key themes and my thoughts on the moments, characters, and whether this finale lived up to what Andor promised us, and what I personally needed from it. Episode 10, Make It Stop, is Luthen's swan song. It's brutal. We finally see his past, once an Imperial, now the man holding the rebellion's puppet strings. The beauty of this episode lies in the silence. He's not killed in battle, he's not captured. He chooses to die for the rebellion, but not in glory, in shadows. It's haunting. And Kleya? We finally understand her. No dramatic turn, no betrayal, just quiet loyalty. A rebel as committed and cold as Luthen himself. I loved this, and I wish we had more of her throughout the season. This episode was a thesis on sacrifice. What are you willing to give up to fight back? And the answer for Luthen is everything. And that silence, it's a weapon itself. The absence of spectacle makes everything feel heavier, like history is happening in slow motion. This was also the episode where the quiet loyalty paid off. Kleya, Val, Cinta, they're all ghosts in the system, watching, waiting, acting when it counts, but there's no applause for them. And that's what Andor nails so well. The people who shape the galaxy rarely get the medals. I also love how the episode doesn't spell everything out. We're trusted to read between the lines. Like how Luthen's former life is never really shown, just implied through his wariness. It's mature, and honestly, refreshing. And while it's Luthen's story, it ripples through every character, every death, every compromise. It feels like one giant reckoning, a slow, inevitable collision with fate. Now let's take a look at episode 11, Who Else Knows? Cassian's growth really hits in this episode. He makes choices, he leads, he protects. His decision to save Kleya, to act with empathy while still thinking tactically, was such a clear step forward. And let's talk Dedra Meero. Her unravelling was quiet but terrifying. There was no satisfying fall from grace. She just becomes another discarded cog in the Imperial machine. This episode was building to something explosive, and yet, the fuse stayed lit. Without the detonation, you could feel the tension, it just never exploded. And that made it even more unsettling. You're left waiting, bracing for impact. It's like the show is trying to say, this is how real tyranny works. Slow, cold and clinical. What I found fascinating was the atmosphere. The ISB was boiling over, metaphorically and literally. The tension in the halls, the growing dread when we see supervisors fumbling over their words, it really shows the hierarchical nature of the Imperials. And it was great to see Cassian and Melshi come together again. Their bond over shared experiences feels genuine. They're more like allies and brothers, their friends forged in difficult times. And then the tone snaps with the return of director Krennic. His interrogation of Dedra is one of the most intense moments in the entire series. There's no subtlety here. Krennic doesn't play games. He enters with the full weight of his authority. His voice sharp and dominant, slicing through the silence. And that tap on the head, it's not a gesture of curiosity. It's an act of dominance. Sharp, loud, deliberate. It's Krennic reminding Dedra, and us, that the Empire's power is wielded without restraint. There's no kindness, just cold efficiency and brutal enforcement. He strips Dedra of all control. In that moment, she isn't the terrifying ISB supervisor from Season 1 and most of Season 2. She's a prisoner, powerless, dehumanized. It's the Empire at its rawest. And it's honestly terrifying how easily it turns on its own. Amazing. Episode 12, Dedra, Kyber, Urso. This was it. The finale. The final pieces lock into place. Cassian delivers intel on the Death Star. We know this leads to Rogue One. The payoff is in knowing how hard this moment was earned. And yet, I wanted more. Like, no mention of Kino Loy? What's that about? It just hurts. He was the emotional heartbeat of the prison arc, and leaving him behind without even a whisper? Devastating. But no, I joke. In reality, it really did hit me when I realised Cassian dies never seeing Bix again, never meeting his child. And that's what struck me the most. We know he dies in Rogue One, but now it hits a little bit harder. There's something tragic about fighting for a future you'll never see, especially when it's personal. Bix, meanwhile, becomes a quiet symbol of hope. She's raising their child, and a small flicker of life. That's the rebellion's future. But still, I'll be honest, the final scenes hit fast. We reached the end, but it didn't erupt. It smouldered, intentionally maybe, but I wanted more spark. Despite that, the season stayed pretty true. It didn't cave into cheap thrills, it didn't rely on cameos or lightsabers. It was human, painfully, beautifully human. And that's rare in Star Wars. It showed us that rebellion isn't just one with blasters, it's one with heartbreak, with sacrifice, with people like Brasso, Val, Clea, people we'll never read about in the Jedi archives, but who still mattered. And the Force, while not at the front and centre, was felt. Through the kyber crystals, through the healers, through sacrifice. That's the Force at its core, hope that binds. Andor didn't show Jedi, but it showed why the Jedi mattered, why balance mattered. That's powerful stuff. Now this is a bit off the cuff. I did have a section here where I've been thinking to myself, wouldn't it be great to have the Empire's version of Andor? But now that I sit here thinking about it, we kind of got that. Dedra was kind of like the mirror image of Andor. We kind of see her journey or learn about her journey through the Empire and the Imperial Academy and growing up and all of the different bits involved. And I had gone on and thought, oh, it'd be great to see ISB agents on deep cover missions and internal power struggles. But we kind of got that already, like seeing Dedra competing against all of the other supervisors for credit and accolade. It's fascinating. We see Cyril being deployed into deep cover. I think that the series really, really did a great job of exploring the machinery of authoritarianism, especially from within. It didn't redeem the Empire, but it did make it terrifyingly real. The cold efficiency, the bureaucracy, the faith in control, and look where it got them. Now, I want to pass over to you guys what your thoughts were on what I think may be a plot hole. I could have missed something. I'm very happy to have missed something and someone correct me. In Andor Season 2, she says, "My parents were criminals, arrested when I was 3. I was raised in an Imperial kinderblock." If she was 3 years old when she was sent to a kinderblock, and if we assume she's around 40-ish, that would put her time in the kinderblock around 37 BBY, years before the Empire or the Imperials even existed. It could be a plot inconsistency, but there could be a few in-universe explanations that might smooth it over. Number 1. Retroactive rebranding. The Imperial kinderblock she references may have existed under the Republic, but was later absorbed and rebranded under the Empire. She might simply be calling it that in hindsight, since the current regimen owns the past narrative. Number 2. Propaganda or self-mythology. Dedra is loyal to the Empire to a fault. Her story may be shaped or exaggerated to fit the values she thinks the Empire would reward. Loyalty, discipline, survival from chaos. She may be recasting her upbringing in more Imperial terms. Number 3. Early Imperial Black Ops. Palpatine and his secret security infrastructure, like the early ISB, Companoor, and the Proto-Inquisitors, were likely moving behind the scenes well before 19 BBY. Dedra could have been raised in one of these early institutions founded by Sith loyalists or separatist-aligned groups that later merged into the Empire. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Maybe it's just a plot error. Be interested to know. So, did Andor Season 2 give me what I wanted? Yeah, nah. The final kind of fizzled. I wanted a final explosion, a deeper look into the Force, closure for Kino, and a little more time to sit with the weight of it all. And I guess in a way, Rogue One is the big bang at the end of the story. Andor isn't about the boom, it's about the spark that leads to it. The pain, the sacrifice, the quiet courage that lights the fuse. And okay, here's something that hit me after rewatching Rogue One the other day. Absolute masterpiece, yes, we all know. But I've got a question. Why are the KX droids in Andor Season 2, especially on Gorman, absolute tanks? Shrugging off blaster fire like they're Terminators. But in Rogue one gets taken out with a single shot by Jyn Erso. And on Scarif, even K2SO, as invincible as he is, doesn't feel nearly as indestructible. I mean, technically, he is the droid from Gorman, so he should have that same resistance. We see Andor firing shot after shot into him, and nothing happens, but then all of a sudden, in Rogue One on Scarif, he's getting absolutely blown apart. So what gives? Here are a few of my theories. Programming versus armor. K2SO may have retained his strength and AI, but the rebellion could have stripped or downgraded his plating to avoid detection or improve mobility. Maybe. Number 2, targeting versus impact zone. The one Jyn shoots may have hit in a critical joint or power relay, less about armor, more about where she hits. Maybe. 3, the story needs trumped consistency. Now this is a bit of real talk. The Gorman scene in Andor is stylized for shock and brutality. It shows how far gone the Empire is. In Rogue One, the droids need to feel beatable, so the hero's odds feel impossible. And look, even K2, as strong as he is, dies holding off an entire squad. So maybe it's less inconsistency and more evolution of tone. Either way, the Gorman moment was savage, and it makes K2's sacrifice in Rogue One hit even harder. He wasn't just another droid, he was one of those monsters, and chose to fight for hope instead. Choice is a little bit iffy there. But honestly, anything K2SO is going to be great. I mean, did you see that savage scene of him in that hallway? When he grabbed that Imperial officer and used him as a literal human shield. God, it was so brutal. The screams, that sequence gave the finale such punt. The one I was craving for. And yet, even with that, the ending felt a little bit rushed. Like we were racing to connect the dots instead of letting it simmer. But ultimately, Andor stayed true. It didn't flinch, it didn't pander, it gave us one of the most grounded, human, and emotionally real stories Star Wars has ever told. And when K2SO tore through that hallway, that was the savage spark I needed to remind me this rebellion can bite back. And yes, I accept Rogue One as the big bang at the end of this story. Andor is the build-up. It's about the spark that lights the fuse. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't trade that for the world. It was such a good series. I loved it. And just like that, we're done. So what did you think? Was the ending enough for you? Did it feel like the perfect lead-in to Rogue One? Or did you, like me, just want that little bit more? Let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, and as always, this has been Shay Rants. Rebellions are built on hope. See you next time.